Alright, I've started to see an uptick in amount of people who have wanted to try to create their own conflict mode in Arma, so I guess I may as well just go ahead and show you how to do that. So one of the first steps you're going to start with is going to the workshop and downloading whichever mods you were wanting to add to your conflict mode. I'm just going to show how to add mods to it and work off of there. The steps are basically the same even if you aren't going to use mods, but this is how you were going to add mods to them. So you are going to go to your workshop, find whichever mods you are going to use, download them, and then once you download them, you can just go ahead and minimize main Arma for now, and you are going to want to open up your file explorer. Once you go to there, you are going to want to go to this PC, Documents, My Games, Arma Reforger, Add-ons. Then you should see all your mods are downloaded into here. All these folder names are going to be your mod IDs. You are not going to need them at this moment. All you're going to need to do is just copy all of your mods. You are not going to need the scenario meta at the bottom. You are just going to need the folders with the ID names. Then you're just going to copy that, go back to Documents, My Games, go to Workbench, Add-ons, and then you are just going to paste them here. Then once you have all your mods onto your Workbench folder, you can go ahead and close that if you want. We're going to create a new project, name it whatever you would like. And then here's where you will add your current mods. Be sure to add whichever dependencies the mod requires as well. You can find these on the Workbench in whichever mod you downloaded. Whichever mod, like if we're using the Block 2 mod, the M4 Block 2 mod, you go to the dependencies and you can see them right here. So let's say I want to add a BMP. Say I want to add these. Let's press OK. Wait for the engine to start up. Now over here on the left is going to be our resource browser. This is going to be your main workbench. Inside your main workbench you have these small editor workbenches, which will pop up in a separate window. So the first thing we're going to want to do is grab a world to work off of. So we are going to want to go to Arma Reforger, Worlds, Multiplayer, and since this is going to be the conflict mode we're going to be working with, we are going to use the CTI campaign worlds. That just stands for Capture the Island Campaign. I'm going to start with the island world just because it's a faster load time for just simple reasons, so let's just stick with this. Alright, so now that you're loaded into the world, you'll see over here on the left is your hierarchy. This is everything that is currently placed inside the world. You can click on it, press F on it to find it. Use your mouse wheel to scroll in and out. You can click the viewport and you will see it highlights in an orange box. You can right click and use WASD to move around. Use your scroll wheel to speed it up or slow it down if it moves too fast. Now, to be able to edit this world, because as you see over here on the left, it has a lock and it's all grayed out and I can't really move anything. It's just locked, can't move locked entities. So what we're going to want to do is go to File, Save World As. You want to find your folder, the one with your mod name on it, not the profile folder. You do not want to save anything into there. You just want to go to your profile, your folder, click New Folder, because we need to have a place to save this world, and create a new folder named Worlds. Then we want to make sure that is selected and rename our world to whatever the name of the world wants to, whatever you want the name to be. So then you'll press save, go down to your resource browser, go to your folder, go to your worlds folder, and you'll see you now have a world right here. You'll want to open that one. And you will see you basically load right into the same spot you left off. But this time, if you go over to your hierarchy, you now have all these different colors. Everything is now editable. So some basic things about the campaign game is everything is controlled by the campaign game mode. This is what tells everything here how to work together. Everything in here works together. It does not really work separate. So if you're thinking you could just take some of these parts and go make your own game mode, no, not exactly. You would have to rewrite your own scripts and everything like that, which I have no experience with, so I can't really help you there. But so everything here is configurable. So let's say everything on the left is everything that you've placed in the world. Once you select something, you will notice it may take a second, but everything will pop up over here on the right that you can configure. So every game has like a campaign game mode and then like a faction game mode. You have loadout managers. I say game modes, I'm sorry, I meant managers. You'll have different managers for each game mode, but the manager we want to focus on right now is going to be the campaign faction manager, where if you go over here to the right, you will notice you have 3 editable factions. You have the USSR, US, and FIA. Well, let's say for example you want to add a vehicle to the US, or no, let's say the Russians, because I have the BMP. Let's say you want to add a vehicle to their vehicle depot. All you are going to want to do is open up the faction right here that says USSR, scroll down to the vehicle list, drop down, click the drop down menu, and you will see you have the 5 vehicles that have that in the base game the Russians start with. All you're going to want to do is press the plus icon here. It'll give you a new box right here that you can put in information. And all you're going to want to do is you have these empty prefabs right here. Find your mod for whichever vehicle you want to add. Anything that you can really mess with is going to be in the prefabs folder. So like for Arma, most of the things you're going to touch is going to be in the prefabs folder. For anything else, it's going to be in prefabs. So you're going to want to go into prefabs. It's not going to be in an editor mode. It's not a prop. It's not just tracks by itself. So it's going to be a vehicle. It's going to be tracked, BMP, and then as you can see right here, you have the BMP tank entity and the turret entity. You want to make sure you only grab the .ets. That just stands for entity. If you just have like a box icon right here and it's not really loading in and you don't know what it is, you can just click it and drag it into your world and it'll place it down so you can just see what it is. And then if you don't want it anymore, you just have to make sure it's highlighted in your hierarchy and you can just press delete and get rid of it. But make sure you go back to your faction manager to where you left off. So we want to add this vehicle to the Russians. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this, drag it into the prefabs, and now that's ready. So now the type of entity it is just basically telling it which vehicle depot can it spawn at, the light or heavy one. It's a heavy tank, or it's a heavy vehicle, so we're just going to put it in the heavy vehicle depot. We're going to make it cost 1,000 supplies just for this test, and we're just going to set it to private just to show. You can set it to whatever you want. Now the name, the first slot is you can name it whatever you want or however you would like to format it, but in the second slot it has to all be capitalized. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. So now that you have the vehicles in the vehicle list, let's say you want to test out if it worked. As you see up here in the top, before you do anything, if you look further up at the top, you'll notice your world name up here and it has a little star icon. That little star icon means you have not saved, and that is bad on you. You should always Control S and save, because the workbench can crash at any moment and you'll lose all your work. So now what you want to do is after you save, make sure you look at this little drop down menu right here. Some people play inside the viewport, some people play in view screen or in full screen. If you're playing in viewport, it's always a good idea to have down here at the bottom your log console open so you can see what is going wrong when you're playing or when you're testing. But most of the time I just test to see if my functions are working. So I'll play in full screen and then I'll just press the play icon and it'll load you right into the world with all your settings that you have. So let's go test the Soviets. They need the heavy vehicle. Oh, I forgot it requires a level now. So if you want to cheat the system a little bit, hold Y on keyboard and mouse, right click the base, capture base, and just do this a couple times until you're whatever level you need. Should be good enough. All right, so we want heavy vehicle depot. And of course, everything over here doesn't really allow you to build. I'll just put it right here just to show. Alright, so now we walk over here and we look, there it is, BMP3. Now we can spawn it in normal conflict mode. It's that simple. So now let's say a new mod just came out on the Workbench and you want to add it to your server after you've already, or add it to your mod after you've already created a mod. So make sure you save, close down the world editor, and you are going to go back to your Workbench. You are going to go to Workbench options, and then go right here to where you see this screen, and you will see your dependencies right here. All you're going to want to do is make sure you download the mod first over here. So let's say, for example, I'm doing the Dark Guru weapons pack. All I'm going to do is make sure I press the plus button here, go and find the Dark Guru file, whichever one it may be for you. This is the most annoying part if you have a lot of mods. This is one. Okay, I don't know why this one looked different than all the others. Okay, so you will find the one that just says add-on by itself, and its type of file will be a .gproj file. You are going to want to right click that, and you are going to want to open with. I use Notepad++, but you are free to use Notepad if you have it. But I'm going to go ahead and open it up in Notepad, and you will see it gives you something. In Notepad, you will have something that looks extremely similar to this. So on here, it gives you all your dependencies that you are going to need for those mods, and it also gives you the GUID for that mod. The only thing you're going to need is the GUID. Now, I already have all the dependencies in here from earlier, all right here. You can also, if you're not sure, you can also just have them right next to each other and then go through and then check to make sure these match these. But all I'm going to do is copy this GUID, paste it here, press OK, Workbench save, and save my Workbench, and then close it, reopen my Workbench, open up my project, and then we will see right here in our resource browser, we now have the new mod in here. So let's say you have something in a mod and you don't want part of it included. Like, let's say like this Dark Guru mod pack, for example, they have some apparel in here, or some uniforms. Let's say you don't want uniforms. Let's say you just wanted their weapons, for example. Like me, I personally just prefer weapons. I'm not a fan of all the uniforms in the game. So what you are going to do is go to the USSR, because that mod focuses on the USSR, and it puts it in the arsenal box. So you are going to go to the arsenal config, go scroll down until you find whatever it is that may be in that mod pack, and you will see, I see like different types of jackets. I have different types of backpacks. Let's say I want to remove all these armbands. All we're going to do is use the drop down menu on all of them, and you see how all these item resource names here, you can click the magnifying icon and see like what they actually are, what type of item and mode they are. All you're going to do is right click the resource name and set to no value. And then once you do that and you save it, that item is now removed from the arsenal box, equipment box, wherever. It is now removed from there. So that way you can install some mods and then remove some items if you would like. But keep in mind, they will still need to install the entire mod. So like if you have the RHS mod, for example, and you go through and you delete a whole bunch of items, your players are still going to need to download that 1.5 GB or whatever size mod it is. Just keep that in mind. Even if you remove an item, you are still going to have to download it. Now, let's say you also have a mod that needs an update. So if I go back to my Arma Reforger and I click update, my Dark Guru mod pack is going to need an update. So that just might mean when I place something in here, something may be missing. They may have came out with like some new clothing. They may have updated some of the clothing. Well, the version that I have in my Workbench is going to be out of date, and I won't be able to see any of the new stuff. So you are going to need to update your mods again. In order to do that, you will just update your mod through here. Just download your update like normal. I don't think it updated. I think it just deleted it. It did. Okay, once the ridiculously long mod updates are done, all you're going to want to do is go back to your PC, my games, or this PC documents my games. Go to Arma Reforger, add-ons again, copy all the folders again, and then you're going to go back to Reforger Workbench, add-ons, and then paste them again. And then you're going to overwrite. You're just going to make sure you press yes to replace these files in destination, so that way it does. Oh, right. Don't forget to close your Workbench before. Make sure you save and then close your Workbench, or else it won't be able to copy the files because the Workbench is open. So now, or it won't be able to paste the files. So now if I replace them, this should work. Alright, so now we go back to our Reforger tools, open up our project. And there you are. You now have your updated mods. As you can see now, I don't think this was here previously. I don't think a lot of this was here previously. So let me go ahead and go check the faction manager after this update to make sure everything that I removed stayed removed. Yes, it did. They were set at the bottom. Okay, cool. But yeah, that is how you remove items, add items to the factions, and so on. One thing I did forget to mention is if you are stuck, there are some resources out there you can use. I highly recommend checking out the Arma Reforger wiki from Bohemia, which I will put in the description. But this is where you will find a lot of tutorials and other things from Bohemia themselves about this engine. And then another good one I would highly recommend is Useless Fodder's tutorial on how to make missions in Reforger. He does great breakdowns and he can do a lot better of explanation than I can. And he has a video that's nicely time-stamped for whatever you might need in here. I would highly recommend you go check that out. And then more of the wiki right here that you could use.